What is up? Welcome to guess what time it is? It is now. So, welcome. And today we are going to be discussing, and we actually have some story time today. We're going to be discussing the most popular concept, the most talked about thing when I am interacting with people in relationship to their desired outcomes, like what they're wanting, what they're dreaming about, and how to get there, and or when people are trying to figure out why they're in the current situation. These are two of the main things that I talk about. People want to get places, or people have an issue understanding why they are in the place that they are at. And this concept that we're talking about today is going to be covering both of those. It's the most talked about thing I talk about with people. And it's the concept of steering through realities, okay? Now, when you look at where you presently are, you can see that where you presently are is a result of a whole bunch of choices. Yeses versus nos, okay? When you were 5 years old, you decided to do one thing, whether it's play a sport, talk to your dad, read a book. All of these yeses versus nos is like a ping pong that led you to this point that you are now. And much like a computer, right, which is just a series of zeros and ones, right? That's the computer programming. And it's like yes versus no. If you look at all the choices in your life, the route that you took is a very specific pattern that led you to this moment right now. At any point, if you would have made a no instead of a yes, or a yes instead of a no, you would be in a different position that you are at now. And now you're in a position where you have all the experiences, all the character, all of the mentality of the person that you are today. With that concept, if we want to get to a desired reality, okay? If we're going to get to a desired reality that is different than we are right now, we are going to actually need to be a different person. And the map that gets us there is going to be a series of yeses versus nos. Now, the way that's most logical for us, and the way that most of us get to point A to point B, is that we just go one step at a time. And the issue with that is that every time we take a step, we don't know if that yes or that no is the right decision. So what I'm going to propose today, the practice today, is going to be to work backwards. So if we can determine, and I have said this different times in different ways, if we can determine where we want to be, if we know who that person is, then we can work backwards, right? And it's easy to work backwards from that ideal goal. If we want to be in a position, I'm going to make something up off the top of my head. If we want to be an artist who gets paid a lot of money to produce art, we're going to know that we're going to need to know what kind of art we're going to produce. Let's just say painting. If I want to be a painter, right? And I'm right here, and I've painted like 2 or 3 things in my life. What does that mean? It means that if I work backwards, I can easily see what the yeses would be. In order for me to be a painter, I probably would be painting on a daily basis, right? So I might as well just check off that yes right now to get me through the loop, okay? Maybe I can look at my life and look at the habits and the things in my life that I would say no to if I were to be at this point, right? So if you imagine we're trying to find the right code to get those series of yeses versus nos to get to that point, it would make more sense to really harmonize and figure out who that person is, and then we work backwards. Boom, boom. Let's say we get a contract if we want to go the agent route. So then we need to get an agent. What does it take to get an agent? I need to do this. I'm not suggesting that getting an agent is the right thing to do nowadays, because independence and sovereignty is always the way to go. But let's just say these are the decisions we made. Then I need to do this to get that, and I need to do this to get that, and I need to do this to get that, which means today I need to do this so that this step gets nailed. Okay? So when we go to the future, we look at what we need to be, we can easily calculate in reverse for where we want to be. Do we understand that? So in my personal life, I wanted to own a gym when I was 20-ish years old. So what I knew was that I needed to be in a place where it wasn't where I currently was, because I was in Michigan and no one cared about gyms. Okay? So I knew that I needed to be where people went and paid for fitness. So I moved to California and I moved to Los Angeles, which is like the mecca of health and wellness, where people paid a lot of money to support what I wanted to do. And then I just started working my way back. What city will I survive in? What city will I have the best success in, right? I went to downtown Los Angeles because there was nobody else there in 2007-ish. So I opened a gym in downtown Los Angeles. I was one of the first little private studios in downtown LA, and ended up becoming, I had two 10,000 square foot gyms with hundreds of clients paying lots of money a month. But anyways, you can see that in Michigan, I was looking at where I wanted to be, and I determined that, okay, the person that is here doesn't live in a state that doesn't value fitness. So I had to move so that equation could be figured out. So getting to today's practice, figure out where you want to be and start looking at the key concepts, the key yeses that gets you there, and start implementing them now. Because when you start going through the equation of life, you want those keys to be hit. And the more correct yeses and nos you make, the easier it's going to be to go there. And these decisions are very easy to make. They're very easy to make if you know where you're going. Okay? And the key thing here is to know where you're going, and we can easily determine that route. It's very, very easy. If you're masculine oriented, it's very logical. A logical approach will definitely work. If you're feminine oriented, the intuition thing is going to work precisely here. The feeling thing it's very easy. Whatever you're, masculine, feminine, or a mixture of both, this approach works for everyone. Get at it.